Hi, this is Dr. Eric Fields. I'm a psychologist specializing in gambling addiction. Today, I want to talk about a reconceptualization of addiction. You are unique. You're more than a set of symptoms. Your issues cannot be simply deduced to a disease. Addiction is super complex, and there are many, many variables involved. And one of the biggest variables involved is you. You're an individual. It is true that there are certain generalizations that we can make about gambling addiction. Certainly, the DSM-5, which we use to diagnose this disorder, spells out very common traits or behaviors or habits of people who have problematic gambling. But that is where it ends. You are much more than a set of symptoms. Certainly, we can make some generalizations as well about the functions of gambling disorder, but only on a very general level. For example, many people with gambling addiction get drawn to this because they look at it as a fast way, potentially, of making money. But that's where it ends, because you need to figure out why you chose this way to make money. Why do you want a quick fix? Is it insecurity and fear that you're not going to be able to be successful on your own? That you're not intelligent enough or capable enough to make that kind of money on your own? And the same can be said for another very common function of gambling addiction: distraction. Gambling addiction is one of the most distracting behaviors that you can name, even more so than other addictions, I would argue. So, sure, another common function of people with gambling addiction is because they want to distract themselves. Again, that's where it ends. Why do you want to distract yourself? What are you distracting yourself from? Is it unpleasant memories, noxious, irritable thoughts? Is it trauma? Is it different kinds of fears or anxieties, depression about past events, a lack of confidence, a lack of uncertainty about the future, issues in your relationship, issues with your job, not feeling like you've found your passion, not feeling like you're really contributing to society? Whatever it is, whether it be on a smaller scale or larger scale level in terms of a concern. It could be a large scale concern that has to do with some kind of existential issue. And that's why you need someone who is well trained to get to the heart of this issue for you, to figure out why you are addicted to gambling. Anyone can sit there. In fact, you can look it up, and an AI program can spit out, right, the common behaviors or surface level reasons that people become compelled to gamble, right, or gamble recklessly and eventually develop an addiction. That's easy. What's hard is getting to the heart of the matter and what really makes you tick, your personality, and what you have been looking to get out of this behavior. Until you get to the bottom of that, I have some really gloomy news for you. If you're just relying on strategies And these strategies are very important. I use them in my therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, and a lot of practical strategies that we teach our patients and clients are very, very helpful, but they're only one piece of it, right? So if you're trying to resolve this issue with just strategies to kind of deal with cravings and urges and stimulus control strategies where you're trying to avoid triggers and trying to set up your lifestyle so that you're not so vulnerable and trying to find alternate healthier behaviors to do to trying to get you away from this unhealthy behavioral pattern. They all have their place and they're very, very helpful. But if that's all you're relying on and you never get to the true root of the problem, what is going to happen, which is very common, and we know this very, very well in the addiction field, is eventually you'll substitute. You'll develop a dependency, most likely, to something else. Maybe it will be alcohol. Maybe it will be drugs. Maybe it will be sex. Maybe it will be video games. Maybe it will be something else. Or maybe it will be something seemingly healthy, right? Like exercising and running and things of that nature. But you may do it to such a compulsive level to avoid dealing with the root problem that you still won't be living your best life. If you are looking at this as simply just some kind of disease that you caught, and now you just need to, find some kind of magical panacea to make it all go away, you're going about it all wrong. You need to stop looking at yourself as just a typical gambling addict, like every other gambling addict that does the same thing, and stop looking at yourself like so much like a victim, because that happens so much where people, they'll embrace this disease model. They'll embrace this idea that this thing just happened to them and there's nothing they can do about it. Woe is me. I got this thing, right? And maybe there's a genetic link to it, right? Maybe people in your family have suffered from addiction. And so you just throw your hands up and say, what can I do? That's just it, right? Well, sure. Absolutely. There are genetic variables involved. It's complicated. But there are a lot of people who have a genetic vulnerability to addiction who never develop an addiction. And you also have to ask yourself, even if you have some kind of genetic susceptibility, why did you choose this one? Right? That's where it becomes individualistic. And until you start embracing this idea, which is the new trend of addiction treatment, you are going to be spinning your wheels and you're never going to really be able to get out of this rut. And even if you become abstinent, if you never get to the root reasons for why you ever got caught up in this, you're not going to live a truly fulfilled life. There are many people in anonymous programs, Gamblers Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, who are miserable. And they did the program. And they did everything that everyone told them to do. They followed the steps. They did everything they were asked to do. And they're still miserable. They've been abstinent from this horrible addiction for so many years, and they're still miserable. Why? Why? Because they never got to the root cause. What they did was commendable. To get rid of this addiction is super commendable. And I'm not minimizing that achievement. But what I'm saying is, stopping this behavior is only half the battle. In fact, an argument could be made it's even less than half the battle. Start looking at yourself as an individual and start looking through this lens of why you are addicted to gambling and what this does for you and what you're relying on it for, what you are relying on it for. And if you have a therapist that doesn't understand that, run from the hills. This is Dr. Eric Fields. I'll have more to say about this at another time. I wish you all great mental health and success with overcoming this very intractable condition.